go to the page.
It says it's live.
It says upcoming videos. Oh, live. It's
Nah.
Do I have to go to YouTube? Like YouTube?
Are you on YouTube app?
I mean, it says upcoming. There it is.
Okay. We're good now. Yeah, it just says upcoming, but it's live.
Okay.
What's up, y'all? Y'all, we're about to record an episode. We're live on YouTube. Shout out to you guys that's tuning in. The 4 traumas every man needs to address.
Part 1.
Part 1 is going to be your sexual trauma. This is going to be a really good series, y'all. Just letting y'all know, because we're going to go deep on a lot of topics. So, I'm looking forward to it. All right. Let's get it, boy. I love you, man. Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
25 is up.
Count you down in 3, 2, and 1.
What's up, y'all? It's Miles the Millennial.
And it's your boy Rex Howard Jr.
And this is Let's Talk Like Men, the podcast where we give real advice, talking about real topics, and giving real tips to men like you everywhere. I'm Miles Harris, and we're back again with another episode.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing today, Rex?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling blessed. I'm excited to be back in the studio.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit over a month.
Yeah.
But, you know, we just hit our 1-year anniversary when we started back. So I think it's time to give them more content, more value, and more direction. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. It's crazy to think how far we've come in a year. Like, the Lord is good. For those of you that are new here, we've had a lot of people that have followed us over the last few months where we haven't been, as frequent on your pages. We started this podcast back in 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
Recording in a bedroom, man. Having my banner behind us off of phones. And then after about 8 episodes, we took a 2.5-year break, guys. And came back in 2024. The Lord just lined things up and just put it on my heart that, like, man, me and Rex need to do this again. And we talked about it. We lined it up. We found On2H Studios, right, here in Houston, Texas. So shout out to them. If you're in Houston, make sure you come book with them. They got the best rates and the best work in the city. And it's been a blessing. A year full of growth, man. How would you describe the last year, Rex?
Man, I would describe the last year as heating up. Heating up. Not only where we're getting deeper into our relationships, but we're getting deeper into our Bibles. We're getting deeper into the different topics. We're getting deeper into, working with men, with being hands-on, and also just deeper in our purpose. So I would say heating up. So now this year, it's time to, what would I say? Take things off exponentially.
Yeah, the exponential growth. We've been putting in the little deposits, and they've been paying off. And I think we're about to hit that turning point.
Yes, sir.
I agree, man. So today we're gonna have an amazing conversation, right? We're gonna start a new series for you guys. We have months planned out for you guys going forward. A bunch of series, a bunch of conversations that are really gonna take this channel to the next level and helping men develop, man. And for the ladies, we appreciate all of our women that tune in, because we know that y'all really enjoy these conversations to see the growth that's taking place within a community of men. And today's episode is going to be great to kickstart the first series that we have for you guys. So the first series is going to be the 4 traumas every single man must address.
Yeah.
And today's episode is going to be the first of those traumas, which is sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a really powerful and insightful conversation. And Rex, before we get into that, I want you to tell us why, in general, this is such an important conversation for men to have. Why do we need to address traumas in general?
Absolutely, because it focuses on and controls our behaviors, right? It determines how we go about life. It determines how we step into our relationships and how we treat ourselves. And if we don't address it, we continue to suppress it. Anything we suppress, it gets in the way of everything that we do.
Yes.
Right? And we can't really function at our full selves because we got that one thing that's really holding us down and keeping us bonded. So it's that important to address it.
I love it, man. So this is going to be a great conversation. Let's go ahead and move. Did we already do our Let's Talk Like Men? I don't think we've done it. So without further ado, let's talk like men. So let's get into it. Announcements for today before we get into the main topic. So first thing, sign up for my weekly newsletter. I just launched a newsletter. If you are in college, graduate school, you getting your doctorate, doesn't matter. I have a student newsletter for you. And if you are a grown professional, you're working in your careers, this is for men and for women, these newsletters, I have one for you guys as well. It's going to be focused on some personal development, motivational tips that you can get. That's going to give you some deposits each month that are going to give you some focus and direction. So make sure you sign up for it. I'll make sure I put the link in the description. You can also go on my Instagram and you can find it at miles.themillennial. It'll be the link in the bio.
Yes, sir.
Rex, what do you have? I know you have your Morning Master Meetup you want to talk about?
Yes, sir. So if you're a young man that wants to develop, you want to grow mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and you just want to become a better person individually, I have a thing called the Morning Master Meetup. We meet every single day, Monday through Friday, from 6:55 a.m. to 7:55 a.m. every single day to get your day started. So if that's something you're interested in, go to my Instagram at @IamRexHoward Jr. Click the link in my bio, and I get you set up.
I love it. I love it. So those are our 2 announcements for today. We'll have some more stuff for you later on after the main topic is over. So make sure you don't go nowhere because we have more deposits to hand to you guys. Now, let's jump straight into our main topic for today. So Rex, do you want to kick it off or you want me to go?
I want you to kick it off.
All right, I'll kick it off. So main topic of today, like we said, the 4 traumas every man should address. And number 1 is their sexual trauma, right? Episode 1 is sexual trauma. My point number 1 is very simply put, if you don't address your sexual trauma, your belief in yourself will be diminished and it will impact your overall confidence in your life, right?
Talk about
So when things happen to you, because sexual trauma looks like a lot of different things. It could be the first time you were introduced to sex and it wasn't a comfortable situation, something that you consented to. It could be sexual violence that was committed upon you. It could be a lot of different things. But what happens is when that's placed into your life and you're operating in your life in a way that's trying to avoid those traumas and you can't, you start to lose faith in yourself. So I'll give some examples. Let's say you struggle, per se like me, with pornography and masturbation. And you tell yourself, you know what? I know that this is a problem in my life, right? I need to stop doing this particular thing. It's not healthy. I need to gain some control over it. And you make a promise to yourself, self, I'm not going to do this today. I'm not going to do this for the next week. I'm not going to do this for the next month. And then you embark on that journey and you fail, right? Now you're sitting there and that happens again and again, and you're sitting there telling yourself, well, if I can't do this, if I can't stop myself from doing this, then X, Y, Z, whatever you want to say there. Another way that looks is, if I can't control myself from lust, right? You're trying to be faithful in a relationship. The goal is for you to be with one woman, but you can't stop yourself from chasing the skirts, right? If I can't stop myself from chasing these other women, then this, right? What ends up happening is at a certain point that then this becomes, if I can't stop myself, then how am I going to be able to commit to myself on my weight loss journey? How am I going to be able to commit to myself on this goal that I have for my business? How am I going to be able to commit to myself and stay committed to myself on this journey of being a father and a husband and a leader? You have set up for yourself in your mind, you have reinforced to yourself, because you continuously aren't keeping your promises to yourself. Your mind is telling you, he cannot be trusted. You cannot be trusted with yourself. That's what ends up happening when you haven't addressed those sexual traumas and they continue to show up and you're trying to fight the good fight. But because you haven't gone deep enough yet, you don't win those battles. And constantly losing in anything diminishes a man's confidence in himself.
Yeah, that's good. So, I always got a follow-up question.
Yeah.
What areas of your life did you lose belief in yourself?
Bro, it really starts for me. It was in faithfulness in my relationship, right? Because I couldn't even turn away a phone to watch a video, right, of sex. It put me in a position to where when I'm out and about, my eyes are wandering way too much. I'm entertaining the conversations way too much. And it puts you in a space to where you're like, dang, when I get married one day, am I going to be the type of man that end up throwing everything that's been built and set up for him away because he cheated on his wife? So I'm losing confidence in my own ability to stay faithful to the person that loves me. Can I even be a man that stays committed to one woman? I don't have the confidence in myself in those time periods to do that because I can't even stay committed to myself about not masturbating today. You sitting there and don't let November come around. Everybody says, hey, these next 30 days, I'm good. Yeah. We're not doing it. Day 4, over with. And you're sitting there in this constant cycle of disappointment in yourself. And that confidence feeds into everything, man. It even shows up when you go to work and you got to be confident for that presentation. You don't even believe in yourself on such a granular level about something so personal to you. How are you going to then go in the world and present yourself as confident in any other area? It's tough.
Yeah. That is really good. And that kind of feeds into my first point, right? You talk about the confidence that you lose, right? And I'm talking about what happens when you first get introduced to it, right?
Yeah.
So what I wrote was the seed of perversion, lust, promiscuity gets planted in you and it grows until you cut it off from the root. So one thing you said is November comes around and people decide they're going to stop doing things for 30 days. I tend to do that. For the last 3 years, January happens and I cut everything off, right? But the more research and studies that I looked up, I realized that unless you understand why you even started, it's going to be hard to cut things off. And if you do try to cut things off, it's only going to be temporary, right? So let's talk about how that exposure and can lead to everything that we're discussing now. 5 years old, that's when I first found porn tape, right? That seed was planted, right? Oh, this is how a man is supposed to be. This is what a man means. This is how a man is supposed to treat a woman.
Yes.
Right? A couple years later, I moved to a different neighborhood. Got some boys in the neighborhood that was real cool, bigger guys that I used to play basketball with. They introduced me to porno magazines. I was like, all right, but when you feel yourself getting happy, all you gotta do is do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as you know, you're developing age. As a young man, you start developing erections, and you're curious about what this bad boy is until you finally do it for the very first time, and you realize how good it feels. So then you find yourself doing it all the time. You're watching the videos, you're looking at the magazines, you're having the conversations, and you believe that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You forget that it's not normal.
Yeah.
Right? You forget that the way you look at women and the way you go about life and the way you go about relationships is not normal. Yeah. So that seed gets planted. And until you get to the point where you understand why you did it, why you started, you'll keep doing it.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I got from the first one.
Bro, that's good, man. You really just triggered a memory in me, bro. Because that conversation of you don't even realize that it's not normal,
right,
is so true, bro. It's so true. You live your life in such a perverted way, everything, and it doesn't help with what the world reinforces to you, right? And then you reach an age where your testosterone, your hormones are raging. Yeah. Sex is already going to be on your mind, but then when it's done in the wrong way and it was introduced to you so prematurely, and everybody is so messed up with how we view it, and so you reinforce the wrong things. I remember being in high school. You and your guys, you talk about everything. You just joke around everything. It was so normal for if somebody was having a stressful day, we tell them, hey, bro, when you get home, just go knock one out, bro. It'll be all right.
100%.
That's all you got to go do. That's that. It got correlated with being a stress reliever. Yeah. It was a solution, right? Even though it wasn't. It was just something that was symptomatic. It calmed the symptoms for a little bit because you get that feeling of pleasure and release. Yeah. But the reality is it didn't solve whatever was causing you the stress. Whatever was going on is still present in your life. And then even more so than that, now you develop a dependency.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And you believe and you draw a correlation to say that when things are going tough, things are tough and my anxiety's high or my stress high or anything of the sort, I need to go do this. Yeah. This particular activity of masturbation or sleeping with a woman or anything of the sorts that comes from that sexual trauma is a way for me to feel good and not have to worry about this. It solves my problems. Yeah. Now, what do that sound like to you? It sounds like the same thing that you hear drug addicts and alcoholics say.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
And so it's kind of crazy how we have normalized something that is not normal, right? It's not the natural way of things for us to be going about it that way, to have this relationship with sex and with ourselves when it comes to sex that really are counterproductive to progressing us in our manhood.
Yeah.
That really triggered a memory for me, normalcy.
No, and that's a fact. And like you said, you go from elementary school to middle school to high school, everybody's having the conversations. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to use it as a release, as a coping mechanism, and that's the only way you know how to cope. Mm-hmm. And then when you don't have it, you start acting in certain ways about it. Mm-hmm. Right? Relationship problems start to get worse. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of men that come into my office that say, me and my lady, when we first connected, this is all we did. When we were angry, this is all we did. When we were happy, this is all we did. But there was a period of time where sex had to be taken off the table, and they had nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And they found themselves being more angered. They found themselves trying to look outside their relationships for it because they didn't have another outlet.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to go to. They wasn't connected to the right source.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to the main point. When it's perverted, when you're exposed to something that you shouldn't have been exposed to, when you have access to things that you don't have the information about it, it messes you up, it messes your relationships up, and it stunts your growth.
Yes.
So what you got for point number 2?
That's good, man. My point number 2 is if you don't address those things, right, in your sexual trauma, what ends up happening is you stop being able to seek and enjoy true companionship.
Oh my goodness, that's good.
You detach from it completely, right? And so what ends up happening is the company of an OnlyFans profile, an OnlyFans model, or the video that you're watching, or some AI, because they got all types of stuff nowadays, a sex toy, a doll, whatever, that company seems better than the company of a real woman.
Yeah.
Because it's easier. It's right there for you to access. It's on demand. It doesn't require you to show up as somebody that actually is deserving of the appreciation of another person and their time and their energy and their body, right? It also shows up when you're with a real woman. Now you can't perform right? So think about it. You've been attaching sex and the pleasure behind it to, if you're watching porn is not love,
no.
Right? It's brutal, it's aggressive, and it has taboo all over it. Anything that violates any social norm, like that's what it's built off of. And so what happens is you chase that. You chase your trauma. And then when you're trying to have sex with a real woman, you can't even get hard if it's not attached to some sneaky, violent, aggressive scenario.
Yeah.
Then what comes after that is if you're not able to perform, now she's second guessing herself and her insecurities. What's wrong with me? Do I not turn you on? You're second guessing yourself, and then it just reinforces the fact that, oh, it's safer for me to go back to what I know, to run back to my trauma, to run back to the cycle of dependence on this thing, because at least there it's safe. Yeah. And nobody's there to judge me, right? You don't even know how to make love. I think that the majority of men don't know how to make love. We know how to F around. We know how to F. Because we done seen that. Zane Sex Chronicles in the middle of the night with that last on the remote. Y'all know I'm going to keep it real here. We've lived it, y'all. We lived it. Right? Everything is attached to something so sneaky and brutal. And when you're with a woman, most men don't know how to even put their emotions into the sexual act.
Right.
Dudes sit there, I can't even take my socks off. I gotta keep some article of clothing on. I remember saying these things to myself because, if I get too vulnerable, if I'm too naked, now I'm vulnerable. And if I'm vulnerable, then my emotions are in it. And if my emotions aren't in it, then I'm not safe.
Yeah, I'm too exposed.
I'm too exposed.
Yeah.
I don't want the emotions to be in this. I just want the physical release. Yeah. And that's it. I didn't want the companionship. And that's what happens when you don't address those sexual traumas. Companionship is like the enemy to you.
Yeah.
Companionship exposes you. Companionship requires you to go deep in order for you to connect with another person. But you don't know how to do it and you run from it.
Yeah. And you self-sabotage things.
Yes.
Right? You find ways to get out of it. It reminds me of the conversations I have a lot of guys, and they say, Rex, and I've been that guy too. After I get what I want, man, I'm on to the next. Right? We're all about the chase. Just that one saying, a squirrel looking for a nut.
Looking for a nut.
You know what I'm saying? Once it gets it, it's on to the next one. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to build those relationships. Most guys that, when they operate out of their trauma, they don't know how to have a conversation.
Yeah.
They know how to ask questions. They know how to find out about you. They know how to get you vulnerable, but you will never know much about them. I was him. I knew everything I need to know about everybody. I knew what to say. I knew how to say. I knew what to do. I knew how to do it. But I remember people asking me, Rex, why don't you ever talk about yourself? It's almost like you'll be funny, like you're not ready for that. But no, really, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable for me to talk about myself.
Yeah.
Where do I even start?
Yeah.
Right? Would you understand me if I talked about myself? Is it safe for me to talk about myself? Is it safe to talk about what I had experienced or what I've been through? Is it safe? A lot of us don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Right? So you said you detach from experiencing true companionship, and that's the absolute truth. A lot of clients that I have that come into my office, they don't know how to be in relationships. They will attach themselves to toxic people. They will attach themselves to people that will be coming and going. They'll attach themselves to people that only place value on their bodies. And a lot of times, if you've experienced sexual trauma, you only place value on your body because that's all you think you're worth.
Yes.
I'm not worth my mind. I'm not worth my heart. I'm not worth what I'm willing to do, but I'm worth what I'm willing to give, and that's sexually.
Man.
And when you attach your identity to that, that's when things go left. And you will never find success in relationships like that unless you start addressing it. And the thing I want to tell people right now is, if you're watching this video and you maybe have experienced sexual trauma, maybe somebody around you has experienced it, it's not a comfortable feeling. It's the secret that we have to keep. And that goes into my next point. I'm going to pause before I go too deep. But matter of fact, I actually got to keep going. But when you feel like you're not safe and you feel like you're in a situation where you can't express things, you go deeper and deeper into isolation.
Yeah.
Right? And that's exactly where the devil wants you.
Yes.
So he can whisper in your ear, you're not good enough. You'll never be a good mom. You'll never be a good dad. Right? You'll never have kids. If you do, you'll get your kids taken away from you. Right? You have all these negative thoughts until you start becoming that person.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything else in your ear. Because, like I said, what's Myron going to say about isolation? Anything that's in isolation for far too long gets closer and closer to decay.
Yes.
To dysfunction as well.
Yes.
So what is that?
That's good, bro. That's really good, because even having these conversations, and I can't speak for you, but I feel like you might relate with me on this. Writing down these thoughts, thinking through my memories, having a conversation right now isn't 100% comfortable.
Yep.
It brings up memories and feelings of things that you haven't wanted to talk about, you haven't wanted to address. And you're talking about two dudes that go to therapy, have been through therapy, a therapist, right? Like, for us, it's not easy. Now, the good thing is we have spent so much time working on ourselves in different ways that we have the muscle ability to lift heavy things, right? To be able to shoulder the weight that's on our shoulders that we're feeling right now.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about it is this. It's never too late to start building that muscle for yourself, right? It's never too late to do the uncomfortable thing that's going to elevate you to the next place in your life, because you want to be able to do this. Because one day, for the fellas, bro, your son is going to come to you with something that's going to address, it's going to trigger a certain emotion and a certain memory that you haven't told anybody about. You've never even brought it up to yourself, that you have chosen to avoid. It's going to pop up. And when it does, how are you going to be capable of addressing it and helping them through it in a way that's not going to traumatize them the way you've been traumatized for the last 30, 40 years of your life? If you ran from it and you still aren't facing it today. That's why it's so important. That's why we have the conversations that we have. That's why we're sitting here in the midst of the weight and not running from it. Right? We repping out right now. This my spotter in the midst of this. I'm his spotter. Because yes, this isn't easy, but God willing, with the strength of the Lord, we get through it. We talk through it. You guys deserve community. That's why he has the Morning Mastery Meetup, so that you guys can go to a place to be able to get the training, to get the repetitions in, so that when you get out into the real world and you're fighting the real battle and the enemy is directly in your face, whether he's moving sneaky or really obvious, you can face him. Say, I'm not running from you anymore. Y'all deserve more. Y'all deserve better. But we can't get there if we run from the tough things, bro.
That's good. Which I'm going to segue into that, because I think this is what I need to say when my mind got sidetracked.
Come on.
Doing the work.
Yeah.
Right? A couple things is going to happen when you do the work, right? It's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's going to be scary, right? You'll experience memories. You'll experience flashbacks. You might even feel physical symptoms, right? You're not going to feel safe.
Yeah.
Right? But if you got the right type of support, you got the right kind of community, and you got the kind of right person leading you through this whole thing, you'll be able to make it through it. Because if it's not uncomfortable, it won't change you.
Come on, bro.
Right? So one thing, especially for men, the worst thing to do is to sit in front of another man or another stranger and tell them about pieces of you that make you feel less of a man.
Yeah.
Right? Even in my office, when I get men to come in and express their sexual trauma, they're uncomfortable. They can't sit tight in their seat. They're doing a lot of moving around. They're breathing like you can tell they feel dysregulated, but it's because their body's saying it's not safe. Their body's saying it's uncomfortable. Their body's saying, bro, stop talking. You're too sane.
Yes.
So I want to challenge you, if you are listening and you know that you're battling with this, you know that you're struggling with it, you know that you haven't received the proper help, you know that your relationships continue to fail, not only because you find the wrong people and they mistreat you, but you continue to attach yourself to these people because your identity is in what you do for people and not because of who you are.
Yes.
If you need help with this, you can just go to resolvecc.com.
Yes. And
I can get you taken care of. But I just want to challenge you. And even if you're not ready for that, there's a lot of resources out there. And one of the things, I'm going to give you two things. Thing number one, I want you to start journaling. If you have thoughts, if you have memories, if you have anything that comes up for you that you're not ready to discuss outwardly, write it down in your journal. So when you are ready to discuss it, then you have information to pull from versus being too nervous. Even if you need to give the journal to the therapist so they can read it and then they can start addressing things with you, that can be a route. And then thing number two, if you have somebody in close proximity that you trust, right? Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a pastor or a mentor. It can even be a stranger. And if you trust them, get it off your chest by sharing it with somebody. Let somebody help you carry that weight, because if you carry it for too long, your body's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker, and to the point where you feel like you can't carry anything else, and that's when things go left.
Man, that's good. That's so good. This is a part of that exercising right now.
Yeah.
You know, us being vulnerable on a camera to thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like that's purposeful.
Yeah.
Because we know that expressing these truths, they're not just for y'all. Like when we have these episodes, they're not just for y'all, they're for us too.
Yeah.
We're preaching to the choir.
100%.
And we really do want to see you develop, and that's why we've created resources individually and as a collective to be able to set you up for success. But I want to go on. You have something else you want to add, Rex?
Yeah, I want to add that. So I would even say, attached to everything that we said, it's so important that we address these now, because we're getting older in age.
Yes.
We're getting deeper into our relationships, right? And if I don't address it now, what will my marriage look like?
Yeah.
If I don't address it now, what will the relationship with my kids look like? If I don't address it now, what will my relationship at work look like? Right? I've been reading things in these books, and it talks about how when a man goes into a new relationship, if he hasn't addressed his sexual trauma, he has a hard time opening up to his partner. It can affect the way he shows up mentally. It can affect the way he shows up emotionally. It can affect the way he shows up sexually. And then those are the men that are more apt to cheat and commit infidelity, right? And every time they're caught, they feel that shame, but they don't know how to stop. They say, okay, I'm going to go get some help.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go read a book. Okay, I'm just going to go pray about it. But they don't know how to stop. And the reason we're having these conversations is because we've done the work.
Yeah.
We're in the process of continuing doing the work. I'm talking about years of work, right? If you go 25 years of dealing with pornography, masturbation, promiscuity, being in the community where you were glorified for having the most women, being in the community where you're glorified for being that guy, then you believe that that's who you're supposed to be. You believe that this is the validation from the world that you're always supposed to get, but it's not the right validation. Yeah. Right? I think even when we started this conversation, my nervous system, I felt like was out of whack, and I didn't feel good about it. Yeah. Because it's like we're having conversations that not many people have, and because we don't really have them out loud, it feels uncomfortable sometimes. Yeah. But now I'm back in my mode.
We here.
Now we're feeling good about it. So what you got for point 3, brother?
Man, point number 3 flows so well with what you were just talking about. What starts happening is you don't address those sexual traumas, you will seek validation from external sources rather than from internal sources. And what that looks like is prime example. Us in college, right? You know, being frat boys, we at the HBCUs doing our thing, man. Bro, reinforce. You were the man. Why? Because you had the honeys. Yep. That was it. Like, man, all these girls, you slept with who? You talk to who? And everybody want to know your business. Everybody wants to know you. Everybody wants to attach themselves to you. And that make you feel good about yourself, right? And it creates a dynamic where you believe that I'm worthy and I'm valuable because they say I'm worthy and I'm valuable. Because they look at me in a certain light. Because this woman wants me or that woman wants me. I got the girl to sleep with me that every dude on campus tried to get with, but I got her.
Yeah.
Right? Versus believing that your value is rooted in who you are and whose you are. You are always focused on what I am to other people, right? So even if you're chasing success, and a lot of men will say this, and I truly believe that this is true, is that for the majority of men, everything that we do for the validation of a woman, right? Even the whole concept of chasing success, the end goal is so I can have my pick of women, right? You may be saying you're chasing personal success, but really you're chasing skirts, right? You're sitting there and you will prioritize the opinions of a girl more than the opinion or the truth of God.
That's good.
Right? How she sees me defines me. Not what the Lord told me I am. Not how the Lord has showed up in my life and showed me grace and favor and mercy continuously and shown me that he has great things planned for me. I'm what this woman, that collective of people says I am. Everything comes from external resources. And you ask, okay, well, how does it get that way? It gets that way because if you have gone through shame over anything before and you hide it, right? And something is able to trigger a similar area to that, but makes it feel okay and feel validated, and it's a way for you to act it out, then you'll chase it because it's a way for you to almost vent it and release it without actually having to address it. So my sexual trauma that I experienced in my own life, right? Can't express it, can't tell it, never spoken to anybody about it up until this past year, right? But a way for me to be able to kind of express it and let it out was with these women. Because the women reinforced thoughts about myself, right? These women made me feel good about the man that I am. But it wasn't rooted in the right thing. And you sitting there and you're trying to be a better man and you can't figure out, well, why can't I let these women go? Well, you can't let the women go because you haven't even addressed your root trauma that has you chasing them in the first place. So if you can't address that and let that go, you can't let these things go because you have nothing to replace it with. And the key and the one thing that therapy will tell you is that when you take something away, you have to put something else there to replace it. Something positive, something that gives you a drive or a purpose that used to give you that was negative. Now you have to replace it with something positive. If you put down the bottle, you need to pick up books. Like you have to replace it with something. But when you haven't addressed the root trauma, how do you know what to replace it with? Typically what ends up happening is, okay, I'll put down the women, but I'm gonna pick up the pornography. I'll put down the phone, but I'm gonna pick up that vape pen. I'm gonna put down the vape pen, but I'm gonna pick up the alcohol. You'll just find a new vice to calm those emotions, and you'll go in a cycle of always feeling deprived and never feeling fulfilled.
So, talk to them about what are some things. Matter of fact, what did you replace your issues with?
Man, there was a few things. First thing that I had to do was replace, when I stopped watching pornography, and I said, I don't want to go down this path anymore. I had to immediately start replacing something with my time when I got bored. Right? Because oftentimes what's happening is you lay down in your bed. You have to know your environments. And Rach, you talked about this before. You have to know your triggering environments. For some men, it's when you're in a dark room and nobody's in the house anymore. And that's when you automatically, it pops into your head. It's like a seed. You're like, I could go watch this. So one of the main things I had to do was, okay, no more sitting around here, not doing anything with this idle time. It's kind of like when you have kids, they tell you like summertime is the time where everybody get in trouble because idle minds find trouble. And so for me, when I was in idle time, I had to go make myself busy with something. Okay, I need to go to the gym, go work out, right? I need to go pray. I need to go put on a sermon. I need to go find an external source, or not even an external source. I need to go find a resource that was going to keep my mind preoccupied until the seed of temptation had left me. Right? Because the thing about temptation is it typically isn't there 24/7. It comes in spurts. It may come one day and not even come the next. It may come in a certain place and not come in other places. And if you can recognize where your trigger points are, then you're able to now Be somebody that's in control of that trigger point. So now I feel that seed. Okay, first thing I need to go do is I pray now, right? That's a big thing for me. It's like, Lord, remove the spirit of temptation, right? Even per se in the gym, right? Women come into the gym all the time. They dressed in their clothing. Some clothing is really revealing, it's shapewear. It's easy to have your eyes and your mind wander. And I have to reinforce to myself and talk to the Lord and say, Lord, give me the strength in this temptation right now to turn towards you and seek you and submit myself to you. Because if I go about it my way, my mind is going to wander. Because for me, there's levels to this.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Yeah, I'm not at the state where I'm going to go talk to any of these women. That ain't in me. You know, that was a former version of myself that is not in me. But now I'm at a state where I say unfaithfulness is even you letting those thoughts not just come into your head, because you can't control them coming, but you can control how long you preoccupy your mind spinning on them. And I have to actively grab a hold of it and reinforce to myself, you are not that man anymore. I have to talk to myself as higher than and say, no, Miles, I can't say that I am this. Because when I attach myself, oh, I am an unfaithful man. No, I'm not. I'm not an unfaithful man. Have I been an unfaithful man in my past? Yes, but I am no longer that man. I am a faithful man. I am a son of God, right? These things are how you re-identify yourself. You redetermine your identity. You redetermine where your source and strength comes from so that it comes from something internal and not external. The world has no power at that point to control you. The world can tempt, but you must choose it for it to actually create something in your life that you don't desire.
Man, that's so good. He just gave actionable and tangible steps to do, to follow, to continue to do it. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with my guys the other morning. And I said to them, what's the context around when you masturbate? What's happening in your world right before you do it? And here's a list of what the guys are saying. Well, I find myself doing it when procrastination gets me. I find myself doing it when I'm overwhelmed. I find myself doing it when I have too much idle time. I find myself doing it when me and my lady aren't on good terms. I find myself doing it when I'm feeling shameful or if I feel like I'm not good enough. I find myself doing it when my finances aren't in the best mode, right? I find myself doing it if I just need, if I'm laying down and I'm tired, but I'm not ready to go to sleep yet and I need to be even more sleepier. Yeah. I find myself doing it during those moments, right? Because it just takes away that extra energy.
Been there before.
Right? I find myself doing it when I just have a split second in my day. So I'm asking all these different kind of questions. And I noticed something. Everybody has a reason why they do it, with reasons and times they do it. And I told them, your body knows your times, your body knows your routines. Your body knows that emotion. Sometimes it's triggered. Sometimes it's when somebody talks to you the wrong way. Sometimes it's when somebody looks at you the wrong way. Sometimes when you look at something the wrong way. Because as you know, sight breeds desire.
Yes.
If I look at something on my phone that's not good for me and I stay on it for too long, I'm going to make a decision after that. But if I look at it and I decide to get rid of it, I decide to unfollow, I decide to unblock, you make it a lot easier for yourself. So there's a lot of different reasons why, but if you acknowledge your triggers, you acknowledge what's going on around you, what's going on in you, like what are you feeling right before it happens, what are you feeling after it happens? Because a lot of times the brother said, after I feel disgusted, after I feel shameful, after I feel like I wasted the last 3 minutes because I really didn't have to do it. Yeah. Right? But you have to build it up. But once again, trying to cut something off without understanding why it's a thing is going to be extremely hard. It's going to be temporary. It's almost like putting a Band-Aid over a wound that needs stitches. Yeah. Right? You still going to feel it, and it's going to be bothering you. It's an itch that you're going to be able to, you feel like you have to scratch all the time until you understand it, until you address it. And having the right conversation is the proper place to start.
That's good, man. That's so good. Yeah. I really do like the way that you brought up the fact that it's like a Band-Aid when you need stitches, because that's exactly it. Like, you're hurting, you have a wound that needs to be healed, and you're putting an insufficient healing device over it. Like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's never going to resolve the root cause and be able to allow you to move forward. It's no different than like how we talk about the medical system today. A lot of drugs and medicine to help with these symptoms, but not a true change in the diet and in the daily behaviors that creates a healthy individual going forward. Yeah. Right? And you have to do these. You have to take that approach when it comes to your own personal battles, and especially with your sexual traumas. because it will show itself up in every area of your life. You think that it's just staying with you in that bedroom and it's only between you, God, and the sheets? No, because it's gonna be something that shows up with you and your wife. It's gonna be something that shows up with you and your kids, you and your friends, you and random people. And we wonder why we see dudes, bro. I think about that guy. I don't know if you saw this, bro. There was a dude. I don't know what type of establishment it was, but I guess the ladies do coffee or something like that, right? But they dress a little like revealing, right? Apparently, this dude had been coming around multiple times in there, and they recognized his card, and so they were recording this next time he came up. He came up, and he was exposing himself to her, right? And she immediately told him, like, no, that's inappropriate. Like, you need to leave. He drove off. You could see when he noticed that she was recording him and that it wasn't okay for him to do it, that he, like, snapped back into reality. Yeah. It's like when he pulled up, it's almost like he thought he was in those scenes in the pornographies where you expose yourself and the woman just falls for you and everything. No. When he did that, he realized the weight of his decisions. Do you know what happened?
What's that?
He killed himself. It went viral, and it got all over the internet.
I've never heard
he was so embarrassed. This happened like maybe a month ago, bro. I can only imagine the shame that he felt, the weight of being exposed to the world for what was really going on. And I hurt for him because he could have been saved.
Yeah.
He could have been saved. And on top of that, I also understand how, wow, I was never on that far of a path. There are ways in which that seed of lust and sexual trauma exposes you in the ways that you would never want to see yourself, in ways that are beneath you, right? And I think that every single man, if we're being real with ourselves, you may not be the type to, go and have sex with a girl against her will, but the same root that comes from that is the same root as to why you can't put that phone down. Yeah. It's the same reason why you can't have sex with your wife unless she's role-playing some taboo scenario. Because your mind is perverted and you have traumas that you got to address and you need a root source cleanse. And until you get that, the same root that causes men to go do crazy things in this world, and we talk about, I can never see myself doing that. What's wrong with these dudes? What's wrong with you, brother? The same thing that's wrong with you. And if you're not careful, you might find yourself in certain scenarios where you lose everything too, because the head in between your pants is stronger than the head in between your shoulders.
That's good.
And I really want us to think about that.
That's real good. Man.
Now I want to hear your point number 3, Rex.
So, I had something very interesting. I had a quote, but also I'm gonna say the quote, but I'm gonna switch my point up.
Okay.
The quote says, "If a man doesn't kill the snake in his garden, it's gonna show up in the garden of his sons."
Yes.
Right. And the reason that it's so powerful is because whatever you don't address, you pass it down. Right. Because if you don't address it, you're gonna live a life, and it's gonna be normal for you to do these things. Like there was a man that he grew up around a promiscuous father. His father showed him a whole bunch of women coming in and out of the house, right? He used to tell them about all of them, tell them different stories, tell them what he did, and he just floated about it. So that young man grew up, and he did the exact same thing his father did, right? Until he put him in a position where he lost his wife, and then he lost his kids, and then he essentially lost his mom, right? And then he got to a point, and this all came from a book, but he got to a point where he had to go sit down with a therapist, and he was like, where did things go left?
Yeah.
The therapist started asking questions about his childhood. What were you exposed to? Like, what conversation did your dad have? When did you start saying this? When did you start seeing this? And the more they uncovered, it all had a root to it. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want something to be passed on to your son, whether that's behaviors, whether that's an identity, whether that's a feeling, then you must address it, right? Now, the second thing, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, right? And of course, I want to hear your thoughts on it too. And it just came to my mind. When you experience trauma of any sort, but especially sexual trauma, you feel abandoned by God, right? So you depend on your own will versus God's will to get you through it, right? You think about, well, if God was so good, then why would he let me experience it?
Mm.
If God was so good, why didn't he take me out of those moments? If God was so good, why didn't he protect me?
Yeah.
If God was so good, why didn't he put people around me that came and got me?
Yeah.
If God was so good, why didn't he give me the right type of parents to make sure they facilitated the right type of people and didn't expose me to too much if God was so good, right? If he's always with me, he'll never forsake me. How can I believe that if he wasn't with me, I felt forsaken in those moments? Yeah. So then you say, well, if God can't do it, then I'm going to figure out how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to fight your battles yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You try to fight these demons, right? And you go into different type of things and think you got the control over it until you find out that it got the control over you.
Yeah.
Right? I've been there. I remember, back in college, I created this alter ego, Rex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good old Rex. And it was just a whole different energy, mm-hmm. right? But it wasn't good energy. Yeah. It wasn't the best intentions. So I remember I was having a conversation with a lady. She said, listen, that ain't good and that ain't God. Mm-hmm. Right? It ain't good and it ain't God. And I don't want you to get so caught up in developing this personality that it creates even more mental problems for you. She said, because Rex, if we're talking about psychological terms, that's almost like multiple personalities.
Yeah.
You feel like you become something else. And she was like, you need to figure out why you feel the need to be in control, why you feel the need to want to say this, why you feel the need to want to do these things, right? And then you need to do work on those things.
Yeah.
So the only reason why I'm up here having this conversation with you is because I had to do that work on myself. There was parts of me that I didn't like. There was parts of me that I didn't understand, but it came from the root of, one, I grew up in a very rigid household, right? And I felt like I didn't have no control.
Yeah.
Pornography gave me control. Masturbation gave me control. You know what I'm saying? Stepping into certain sexual acts gave me control, right? The control that I didn't have then. I grew up in a house that was oftentimes unpredictable, right? So I found different ways to numb myself. I found different ways to run from it. So I found myself drinking a little bit whenever I got to college, mm-hmm. right? Smoked a little bit whenever I got to college. And then realized if that numbs me even more, then I'm going to look for the next thing that makes me feel even better.
Yeah.
And it just continues to get worse and worse and worse until you realize that I can't do it by myself. I'm not strong enough to do it by myself. The only way I can get out of this is, one, I got to do the work, and two, I got to lean on the person that created me.
Yes.
Right? And give my life back to him.
Yes.
Because the more time I spend with God, the more my behaviors have shifted. The more time I spend with God, the more my thought process has shifted. The more I spend with God, the less hardened my heart has got. So I'm able to forgive. I'm able to have certain conversations. I'm able to be uncomfortable in certain situations because I know that I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
I got to work through it, because if I don't work through it, I'm going to become that old person. If I become the old person, I won't produce new fruit or good results.
Yes.
So
that's so good, Rex. That's so good. And I think that we need to just take a second to address that. Well, if God was with me, then why would he let this happen? If God is so good, why? We live in a fallen world, right? And evil exists. And evil can come upon the innocent, right? But God is so good that he won't let that evil be your period.
Yeah.
He won't let that evil be the end of the purpose that he has for you in this life.
Yeah.
Right? Your life, whether it's during that circumstance you go up to heaven or whether you still have the chance to live it, there will be a message, a purpose, a message that comes out of your mess. There will be, true power that comes out of the pain that allows you and or others to be able to understand and come to the Lord, to understand his power, to be able to address things in a different way. You and everything you've been through has happened, and there is a chance for you now, because you are living and you are still here listening to this message, for you to say, okay, Lord, I need to seek your face so that I can find out what it is that you want to use me and my story for.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's why testimony is so important, for people to come and say, I've been through some things. I've walked away from the Lord. I've tried it my way, because it relates to other people.
Yeah.
Right? But you can't have a testimony without the test. It's not possible. And so you can't have a truth without some trials. And if we really are thinking about it from that perspective, if God doesn't let it be the end of you and allows you to be able to find purpose out of it, then you realize that that person, while at that moment they may have taken something from you, they couldn't take it forever because they cannot own what they did not create.
Yeah.
Right? And you can grab it back at any moment the second you choose God. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about with that too is one of the other reasons why we don't run to God is because of shame.
Yeah.
Because every single time we do this particular thing, we feel like, I can't come to God about this. I went to church the last X amount of weeks asking the Lord to deliver me from this sin.
Yeah.
And I did it again. How many times can I ask him? Like at a certain point, he's going to get tired of me asking for this. At a certain point, God's not going to answer my prayers because I'm not doing right. And we forget, we truly forget how this covenant that we have with him works. His son died so that you always have the access and ability to come to him and apologize just one more time. You can do it again. And you can do it again after that, and you can do it again after that. And he will forgive you because the Lord reads your heart. And it's so important for us to realize that when you take that shame aspect away, he already was there. He saw everything when you did it. He knows the truth. When you can face that, it then opens the door for you to say, okay, now that my heart realizes that there's nothing to hide because he already knows and that he is willing to forgive me. Now I can start forgiving myself and can start working on myself in the ways that now I can bear fruit in my life that shows him in the world. And I think that that's so important. You talked about how you got those alter egos, right? I think about me in college, bro. I loved any music that was talking about pimping. That was it, bro. And my favorite artist was Primo Rice.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't tell me nothing about Primo. Man, I remembered all the words to his songs. Rubber Band Man, Pimpin' Ken. Like, I remembered all them songs. And
Pimpin'.
yeah. Bro, it was everything to me. And it was an identity to me. And I remember I put on my suit that day to go out while I'm getting ready, that's playing on the speaker in my room. Yeah. Trying to get that mind right. Because when I walk across this campus, that's what I'm doing. I'm the Mac.
Yeah.
Right? Going to these parties, yep, get my mind right. I'm the Mac. Like, that's the things that is a part of that identity struggle that you have. And I remember talking to my girlfriend because one of my boys had sent me like some new Primo Rice that came out. And I hadn't listened to his music in like 2 or 3 years. And I was talking to my girl, I'm like, man, I haven't listened to Primo in a while. And she asked me why. And I said, I think it's because I know I don't identify with that person anymore.
Yeah.
Right? At a certain space in my life, that really reinforced what I wanted to believe about myself. But now that I desire a different truth and that doesn't align with it, his music just doesn't resonate with me anymore. I can't listen to it. I can't even listen to those older songs. And there are times, you feel you might put them on and everything, but it doesn't have the same effect.
Definitely not the same.
It don't hit the same no more. And I think that's also in that process of sanctification as you're becoming closer to God and becoming more like God. More of the world has to continue to you can't accept it back into your life no more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I had to say.
Sheesh. I just want to, first of all, say appreciate you for sharing all of that. And then I want to make a comment on, you said they can't own what they didn't create.
Yeah.
That in itself is absolutely amazing. And that goes for almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They could try to whisper in your ear. They could try to tell you what you should do.
Yeah.
But they can't make you do nothing.
No.
Right?
No.
So, man, I think this was extremely good. And the last thing I want to say before we kind of go into our final segment, is I'm gonna reiterate this again. If you find yourself struggling, please, now is the time to ask for help.
Yes.
Right? If you aren't comfortable going to see a therapist, going to see a coach, going to see a pastor, one, go to somebody that you are comfortable with.
Yeah.
Right? Number two, start sharing your story. Whether you write it in your journal, whether you do a video journal, whether you share it with a friend, start sharing it. Because the more you share it, the more you can release it.
Yeah.
Right? Number three, when you are ready, lock in with the therapist.
Yes.
Right? If you're in Houston, I can take care of you at resolvecc.com. We can work through your identity. We can work through the root cause. We can work through how to cope. Right? We can look at your behavior patterns. We can look at the fruit or the lack thereof that you produce and decide who do you want to be and how to get to that point.
Yes.
Right? And then, last part, you'll grieve that person that you had to be.
Yes.
Right? But commit and decide to continue to be the person that God has made you to be. Right? And one thing about deciding, right, is cutting off any other option. I'm not going back to be who I used to be. I'm not going back to those behavior patterns. I'm not going back to those old relationships. I'm not going back to watching old things. I'm not going back to following people just because they look good, right? I want to connect with people because of what they have in them, not because of what they have on them. So just keep that in mind.
Rex, you just said something so powerful right there. You will miss that person.
Yeah.
There will be a time period for a while where you're going to sit there and it's going to feel so foreign to be operating as a different version of yourself, right? And not choosing somebody that you have attached your worth, your memories, and your happiness to for so long. That is not easy. And I'm glad he says that, because that's something that we have to call out. You're not alone in sitting here saying, man, I'm doing the right things, but a part of you misses him, right? That version of me previously. That's real. You will, as you said, you will grieve that former person.
Yeah.
But grieving is a process, right? And it's not something that necessarily ends, but it is something that transforms, right? As time progresses, as you address things, as you are honest and upfront about them, you don't run from them. At a certain point, that grieving allows itself to transform into a way to where you can remember but not give power to.
Yeah.
To where you can reminisce but not give worth, right? And can say, you know, that was a time, right? And it was fun while it lasted. But I realized that there's greater, you know, for me, greater within me, that I wasn't accessing at that time, that I was settling for less at that time. And while I love that person cannot go with me where I'm headed.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes me think about that Mike Tyson interview when he was talking about his own self.
Yes.
He got to crying
Mm-hmm.
because he felt like that Iron Mike, when he was back in his prime, he had that dog in him. There was hate in his heart, like he was trying to kill, steal, and destroy whatever that he had in front of him.
Yeah.
And then he was crying because he said, now I feel soft. I feel like I'm not him.
Mm-hmm.
He calls himself the B word, right? And that's exactly what happens when you have to grieve that old you.
Yes.
But in order for Mike to be who he is now, the one that's on the podcast is the one that's pouring life into the world. That's the one that's pouring life on his podcast and just in all these different areas. He had to grieve and let go of his past in order to become the person he was supposed to be.
Absolutely. That's so good, man.
Yep.
That's our main topic for the day, guys, right? This is episode 1 of this series. So as y'all can imagine, episode 2, 3, and 4 are about to take it even higher. We weren't playing with y'all when we said we're coming back with some heat. And we really hope that you receive this transparency. We hope that you guys have enjoyed looking at us in these professional shirts that we got made.
Yeah.
Rex, real quick, give like 5 seconds on how this shirt feels to you to be wearing it right now.
Man, to be honest, I feel professional, man. I feel pretty good. It's lightweight. It feels amazing. The texture is really good. It fits good in my arms.
Yeah.
It's not too baggy. It kind of fits snug. I think it's great.
Man, I love it, man. And I really want to just give a shout out to Discount Mugs, man, because they were able to create and bring to life a vision that we had. Something that we have been working on for a while, which is like, man, we have to take this platform to the next level, and our look is an important part of that. How can we look more uniform? And at Discount Mugs, guys, they're able to provide custom embroidery and materials for anything you can think of for your business. Doesn't matter if you need pins, wristbands, mugs, hats, shirts, anything you need done, they can create custom. They can go through and bring your vision to life. So we want to thank you to Discount Mugs just for the work that they've done. And honestly, guys, we have a code for you guys. So MY30 off, MY30OFF is going to get you 30% off all orders of $100 or more. Please go there, take some time on their site, and find something that works for you, your business, and for your dream. And I promise you it will be worth it. Thank you, guys. So, on other things, Rex, I just want to say one last thing before we close out. If you had to leave people listen to this with one word that's really going to carry them through the process of addressing their sexual trauma, what would you give them?
One word. One word. Got a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Got it.
Go ahead. One is never enough. That's okay.
The first one is God can. Right? God can. You can't do it by yourself, but God can.
Yeah.
Right? You can't get past this. You may not be able to forgive yourself, but God can. Right? You may not be able to see more than what's in front of you, but God can.
Yes.
Right? So just remember that. And then secondly, the word uncomfortable. Nothing about this journey is going to be comfortable. So get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, having uncomfortable conversations, having uncomfortable feelings, but addressing it. So that'll be my word.
That's good. If I had one word, at first I was going to say like transparency or vulnerability, but that's not it. The one word that I would leave you guys with is submission. And the reason why I say that is because what you don't submit yourself to will rule over you. And so you must submit yourself to this process. You must submit yourself to God. You must submit yourself to the fact that it's going to be uncomfortable. You must submit yourself to the fact that you must be vulnerable and transparent. You must submit yourself to the fact that you are going to be tempted and tested. You must submit yourself to the fact that this will be one of the toughest battles you ever fight. But I want you to submit yourself also to this one truth, that this is a battle that's more worth it than any other battle you'll ever fight, because it's the battle for your life. It's not a battle in your life, it's a battle of and for your life. And so I truly want you guys to submit yourself to this process so that way you can be transformed into who you were always created to be by the Most High.
That's good. That's good. In closing, once again, my name is Rex Howard Jr. I'm a relationship and sex therapist practicing in Houston, Texas, but more specifically the Woodlands at Resolve Counseling and EMDR Center. And this month, I want to take on 6 new couples to help you transform your life. Not only your life, but your relationship in a few different areas. When it comes to communication, I want to help you learn how to communicate effectively. I want you guys to increase the intimacy, not just intercourse, but all the emotional intimacy, the mental intimacy, just the physical intimacy, right? And then lastly, I just want to help you build your quality of life and help you build on the goals and the clarity that you guys have for your relationship so you can always be in alignment. So if you need that, go to resolvecc.com and book a session with me.
I'm Miles Harris. You guys can find me at milesthemillennial.com. If you're an educator, if you're even a student that really wants me to come in and be able to speak to you guys, I'm here to empower you to become the best versions of yourselves as individuals, as leaders, and as a team. So you can find me at milesthemillennial.com. You can fill out a booking form. I would love to see you guys there. Make sure you guys sign up for my newsletter so you can keep up with everything that I have going on. And we're so excited for what's about to happen. God is amazing. And we will catch you guys next week.
See you next week.
Peace.
Good.
Yes, sir.
You